Okay, so get this.
Mm.
Did you know there are people who can hold their breath underwater
Oh, wow.
for over 11 minutes?
Really?
It's called static apnea,
Okay.
and it's kind of blowing my mind.
Wow.
We are diving deep into the human respiratory system today,
Okay.
using a biology textbook chapter as our guide.
Right.
So, while we uncover how we breathe,
Mm-hmm.
let's also think about the extremes our bodies are capable of.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like what's going on in our bodies with every breath.
Right.
So let's break it down. First things first.
Yeah.
What even is breathing?
You breathe all day, every day.
Right.
But have you ever stopped to think about what it actually is?
No, not really.
It's this beautifully orchestrated process
Okay.
that starts with simply pulling air in and out.
Okay.
That's breathing.
Right?
But then there's this other level,
Okay.
cellular respiration. It's like the flip side of the coin,
Okay.
where oxygen is used inside your cells
Yeah.
to turn food into energy.
So breathing gets the oxygen there,
Exactly.
but cellular respiration
Mm-hmm.
is the engine that makes it all work.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to think that
You're right.
even thinking right now
Mm-hmm.
is powered by this process.
Every action, every thought,
Wow.
even that quiet hum of your body at rest, it's all fueled by the oxygen we breathe
Okay.
and the magic of cellular respiration.
So let's follow the journey of air.
Okay.
It enters through the nasal cavity,
Right.
which I always thought was just a simple passageway,
Mhm.
but apparently it's way more than that.
It's like a welcome center for the air we breathe.
Okay.
The nasal cavity warms,
Yeah,
moistens,
okay.
and filters the air
Okay.
before it travels any further.
Gotcha.
This is super important because, believe it or not,
Okay.
cold, dry air
Yeah.
can actually be harmful to the delicate tissues of your respiratory system.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there are these things
Yeah.
called terminal bones.
Right.
They sound like,
Ancient artifacts.
right.
But they're actually these bony structures in your nose.
They're like shelves almost.
Oh, yeah.
Increasing the surface area inside your nasal cavity.
Okay.
So that maximizes contact between
Right.
the air
Hmm.
and the warm, moist lining of your nose,
Interesting.
making sure it's perfectly conditioned
Okay.
before moving on.
From there,
Yeah.
the air hits the pharynx,
Right.
which seems to be a bit of a multitasker.
Right. The pharynx is a shared pathway
Okay.
for both the respiratory and digestive systems.
Hmm.
This is where things get a little tricky
Okay.
because food and air
Yeah.
both pass through here.
Oh, wow.
But don't worry,
Okay.
your body has an ingenious system
Oh.
for making sure you don't choke
Yeah.
every time you swallow.
I'm glad for that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, now we're getting to the part
Yes.
that's always fascinating.
Okay.
The larynx, or
Sure.
voice box,
Think about it. The
Okay.
larynx.
is where those tiny vibrations that create your voice originate.
Wow.
The tightness of your vocal cords
Yeah.
determines the pitch of your voice.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how much variation we
Yeah.
can produce from those two small folds of tissue.
It's like a musical instrument.
Exactly.
With the vocal cords acting as the strings
Right.
from the larynx.
Mm-hmm.
Air moves into the trachea,
Okay.
which is the main airway leading down to the lungs.
Right.
And this is where those C-shaped rings of cartilage come in.
Those rings aren't just for show.
Yeah.
They provide structural support,
Okay.
preventing the trachea from collapsing
Gotcha.
and ensuring a clear pathway for air to flow.
Okay.
And the C shape is key.
Okay.
It allows the esophagus,
Uh-huh.
which sits right behind the trachea,
Yeah.
to expand when you swallow food
Okay.
without pressing against the airway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
It's all about efficiency.
it is.
And the cleaning crew is still hard at work in the trachea, right?
Absolutely. The lining of the trachea is covered in tiny hair-like structures
Mm-hmm.
called cilia,
Okay.
which constantly sweep upward,
Okay.
carrying mucus and trapped particles
Yeah.
away from the lungs.
Gotcha.
It's like a miniature escalator, moving debris out of your airways.
Next up,
Yeah.
the air travels through the bronchi,
Okay.
which are like the branches of a tree
Right.
splitting off from the trachea
Mhm.
and leading to each lung.
And those branches keep dividing
Okay.
into smaller and smaller tubes
Okay.
called bronchioles.
Okay.
Here, those cartilage rings we saw in the trachea and bronchi
Yeah.
start to disappear,
Okay.
and smooth muscle takes over.
So instead of rigid support,
Right.
we have these muscles that can actually change the diameter
Exactly.
of the bronchiole.
This is crucial for regulating airflow
Okay.
to different parts of the lungs.
So it's like
Mhm.
adjusting the vents in your house
Yeah,
to control where the air flows.
exactly.
And finally, we arrive at the alveoli, Right. The tiny air sacs.
This is where all that meticulous preparation pays off.
Okay.
Warming,
Right.
moistening, filtering the air.
Yeah.
Picture millions of tiny, delicate balloons
Okay.
clustered at the ends of the bronchioles. These are your alveoli.
Okay.
And they're designed for one purpose.
Okay.
To exchange gases with your blood.
So this is where oxygen from the air we breathe
Right.
finally enters our bloodstream.
Precisely.
Okay.
The alveoli are surrounded by a network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries.
Okay.
The walls of both the alveoli and capillaries are incredibly thin,
Okay.
just one cell thick.
Wow.
This minimal distance allows for rapid diffusion of gases. Oxygen from the air in the alveoli
Okay.
moves into the capillaries,
Right.
and carbon dioxide from your bloodstream
Okay.
moves into the alveoli
Gotcha.
to be exhaled.
And we have like a ton of these alveoli, right?
The sheer number of alveoli is mind-boggling.
Yep.
If you could spread them all out,
Yeah.
they'd cover an area
Okay.
roughly the size of a tennis court.
Oh my gosh.
That massive surface area
Yeah.
is key to the efficiency of gas exchange.
That makes sense.
Imagine trying to breathe through a straw
Yeah.
versus breathing through a giant window screen.
Okay.
That's the difference the alveoli make.
That's a great visual.
Thanks.
So we've got this huge surface area,
Right.
super thin walls for easy diffusion,
Uh-huh.
and constant airflow, keeping those oxygen and carbon dioxide levels just right.
It's an incredible feat of engineering.
Wow.
And it's worth noting
Okay.
that this design,
Yeah.
millions of tiny air sacs for gas exchange, is unique to mammals. Other organisms have evolved different solutions,
Like what?
from simple diffusion across cell membranes
Okay.
to specialized structures,
Right.
like gills in fish.
So this whole elaborate system evolved specifically to meet the high oxygen demands
Exactly.
of warm-blooded creatures like us.
Right. Pretty amazing.
It is.
But how does our body actually make all this happen?
Right.
What's the mechanics of breathing itself?
That's where the muscles come in.
Okay.
Particularly the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles.
Okay.
Picture this.
Okay.
Your diaphragm is like a dome-shaped muscle
Okay.
that sits under your lungs. When you inhale,
Yeah.
it contracts and flattens out,
Okay.
pulling your lungs down.
Okay.
At the same time,
Yeah.
the muscles between your ribs,
Uh-huh.
called the intercostal muscles,
Okay.
lift your rib cage up. It's like a coordinated expansion,
Right.
creating space for your lungs to fill with air.
So it's not just your lungs inflating on their own.
Right.
It's this whole orchestrated movement of muscles
Exactly.
pulling and pushing to
Yeah.
change the volume
Yeah.
of your chest cavity.
And when you exhale,
Okay.
the diaphragm relaxes
Yeah.
and returns to its dome shape.
Okay.
The intercostal muscles lower the rib cage.
And the elastic recoil of your lungs helps push the air back out.
Interesting.
It's like a perfectly timed dance
Wow.
between muscles,
Yeah.
bones,
Yeah.
and lung tissue.
Yeah. So we've covered the journey of air and the mechanics of breathing.
Right.
But what about all those different lung volumes I've heard about?
There are a few key ones to understand.
Okay.
First, there's tidal volume,
Okay.
which is the amount of air you breathe in and out during a normal breath.
Okay.
Think of it like the gentle lapping of waves on the shore.
Okay, so tidal volume is the everyday breath.
Right.
Okay.
Then there's vital capacity,
Okay.
which is the maximum amount of air you can exhale
Yeah.
after taking the deepest breath possible.
So that's like pushing your lungs to the limit.
Right. Imagine a giant wave crashing on the shore.
And even after we exhale as much as we can,
Yeah.
there's still some air left in our lungs.
Right. That's called residual volume.
Residual volumes.
It's kind of like a reserve tank, ensuring that your lungs never completely empty
Okay.
and preventing them from collapsing.
And finally,
Yeah.
we have total lung capacity,
Right.
which is simply the vital capacity
Yes.
plus the residual volume,
Exactly.
giving us the total amount of air our lungs can hold.
Now, this might be a silly question,
Oh, okay.
but what's the difference between the air we inhale
Yeah.
and the air we exhale?
Obviously, one has more oxygen,
Right.
but is there more to it?
You're on the right track.
Okay.
The key difference is the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Inhaled air is rich in oxygen
Right.
and relatively low in carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
When you exhale,
Yeah.
some of that oxygen has been absorbed into your blood,
Okay.
and your body has released carbon dioxide into the air.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
exhaled air has less oxygen and more carbon dioxide
Okay.
than what you breathed in.
Makes sense.
And I've always wondered
Yeah.
why our breath feels warmer when we exhale.
It's not just a feeling. Okay.
Exhaled air is actually warmer and moister than inhaled air.
Really?
It's been hanging out in your lungs,
Um,
picking up heat and moisture from your body. It's why your breath can fog up a mirror
yeah.
on a cold day.
Okay. All this talk about air is
Mhm.
making me want to take a deep breath.
Go for it.
But speaking of breathing,
Yeah.
how does exercise affect all this?
Right.
We know we breathe faster and deeper when we're working out,
Uh-huh.
but why?
Think about it.
Okay.
When you exercise,
Yeah.
your muscles need more energy
Right.
to power those movements.
Mm.
And remember,
Okay.
that energy comes from cellular respiration,
Right.
which requires oxygen.
Okay.
So as your muscles work harder,
Yeah.
they demand more oxygen,
Right.
and your body needs to get rid of
Mhm.
the extra carbon dioxide
Okay.
produced by all that energy production.
So it's like stoking a fire.
Exactly.
The more fuel you add,
Uh,
the more oxygen it needs to burn. And the more smoke or carbon dioxide it produces.
and your body is incredibly efficient
Okay.
at responding to these changing demands.
Okay.
As your muscles use up more oxygen
Mm-hmm.
and produce more carbon dioxide,
Yeah.
your brain senses these changes in your blood
Okay.
and sends signals to your respiratory muscles to work harder.
Hmm.
That's why your breathing rate and depth increase.
Okay.
It's all about keeping up
Yeah.
with the energy needs of your body.
So it's like our brain is the conductor,
Exactly.
constantly monitoring the orchestra of our body
Mm.
and making sure everyone's playing in sync.
Right,
But unfortunately, even the best orchestra can be thrown off
right.
by a sick musician.
Sadly.
Let's talk about some of the common respiratory illnesses
Yeah.
that can affect this incredible system.
Our respiratory system is constantly exposed to potential threats.
Like what?
Viruses,
Okay.
bacteria,
Yeah.
irritants,
Hmm.
and even our own lifestyle choices
Right.
can take a toll on these vital organs.
It's a bit humbling to
Yeah.
realize how often we get sick.
Oh, yeah.
Despite our body's incredible defense systems,
Yeah,
it really highlights how vital it is
Yeah.
to protect our respiratory health.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's start with the common cold,
Okay.
something we've all experienced at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It's a viral infection
Okay.
that usually affects the upper respiratory tract,
Okay.
causing those familiar symptoms,
Right.
runny nose,
Yeah.
sore throat, coughing,
Yeah.
and sneezing.
The worst.
But the good news is
Okay.
that most colds clear up on their own
Yeah.
within a few days.
That's good.
But then there's pneumonia, which
Sure.
can be caused by bacteria or viruses,
Right.
unlike the common cold.
Mm-hmm.
Pneumonia affects the alveoli,
Okay.
those tiny air sacs
Yeah.
responsible for gas exchange.
So instead of just a stuffy nose, we're
Right.
talking about inflammation and fluid buildup
Exactly.
deep in the lungs.
That makes it much harder to breathe
Oh, wow.
and get enough oxygen into the bloodstream.
Okay.
Pneumonia can be serious,
Right.
especially for people with weakened immune systems.
Yeah.
And it can even be fatal
Oh, wow.
in some cases.
That's scary.
It is.
It makes you realize how delicate these structures are.
Another common respiratory condition is asthma,
Asthma. Okay.
which is a chronic condition
Okay.
where the airways become inflamed and narrowed,
Right.
making it difficult to breathe.
I've heard that asthma attacks
Yes,
can be triggered by all sorts of things.
they can.
From allergens like pollen and dust mites
Mm-hmm.
to irritants like smoke and even exercise.
That's right.
Wow.
And the symptoms can range from mild wheezing and coughing
Okay.
to severe shortness of breath and chest tightness.
Wow.
While there's no cure for asthma,
Right.
medications and lifestyle modifications
Okay.
can help manage the symptoms
Yeah.
and prevent attacks.
Then we have COPD, which stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
This is actually a group of diseases
Yeah.
that includes emphysema
Okay.
and chronic bronchitis,
Hmm.
and they're often caused by smoking.
Right.
Emphysema damages the alveoli,
Okay.
those delicate air sacs responsible for gas exchange.
Right.
They lose their elasticity
Oh, wow.
and become enlarged,
Mm.
making it harder to exhale fully
Right.
and get enough oxygen.
So it's like those tiny balloons in your lungs
Yeah.
are losing their ability to bounce back
A good analogy.
to their original shape.
Chronic bronchitis, on the other hand,
Okay.
involves persistent inflammation
Okay.
and excessive mucus production in the bronchi,
Right.
leading to a chronic cough
Yeah.
and difficulty breathing.
It sounds like both emphysema and chronic bronchitis
Yeah.
make it incredibly difficult to breathe
They do.
and get the oxygen you need.
And sadly,
Yeah.
the damage to the lungs from these conditions
Yeah.
is often irreversible.
And then, of course, there's lung cancer,
Right.
which involves uncontrolled cell growth in the lungs.
It's a serious and often fatal disease.
Right.
And smoking is a major risk factor.
It's a stark reminder
It is.
of the importance of protecting our lungs from harmful substances
Yeah,
and making healthy lifestyle choices.
absolutely.
And speaking of pushing our respiratory systems to the limit,
Right.
let's circle back to that incredible feat of static apnea
Okay.
you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Remember those athletes who can hold their breath underwater for
Yeah.
over 11 minutes?
It's truly mind-boggling.
It's just like they're tapping into some hidden reserve of lung capacity
Right.
that most of us don't even know we have.
They're training their bodies
Yeah.
to tolerate lower oxygen levels
Okay.
and higher carbon dioxide levels
Wow.
for extended periods.
It's fascinating to consider how they're consciously influencing their respiratory systems in ways that most of us wouldn't even attempt.
Right.
I have so many questions about how they do it.
I know, it's amazing.
But I think we'll have to save that for another deep dive.
Yeah, for sure.
We've covered a lot of ground already today.
Well, yeah.
From the basic mechanics of breathing to the complex interplay of muscles, gases,
Right.
and even the brain.
It's clear that our respiratory system is incredibly intricate and finely tuned,
It really is.
yet vulnerable to a range of challenges.
It's a fascinating balance of strength and fragility.
It is.
And it's a reminder that something we do so effortlessly,
I know, right?
thousands of times each day,
Uh-huh.
is actually a marvel of biological engineering.
Well said.
Well, let's take a well-deserved breath
Yes, let's do that.
and continue our exploration in part 2.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive.
Before we were discussing static apnea
Right.
and those incredible breath-holding records,
It's amazing what the human body can do.
it's fascinating how much control these athletes have over their breathing, even when their bodies are screaming for oxygen.
It really highlights that interplay between conscious control
Right.
and the automatic regulation of our breathing.
Yeah.
While our brain is constantly monitoring things like oxygen and carbon dioxide levels to keep us alive,
Right.
we can also choose to override those signals,
Wow.
at least to a certain extent.
So it's like
Yeah.
we have a manual override switch for our breathing,
Right.
but with some pretty strict safety protocols in place,
Exactly.
our brain won't let us hold our breath until we pass out,
Right.
no matter how hard we try.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
These checks and balances our body uses
Yeah.
to maintain homeostasis.
This deep dive has really made me appreciate how complex and vital our respiratory system is.
It's incredible, yeah.
We don't even think about it most of the time.
Right.
But every breath we take
Mm-hmm.
is a testament to the incredible design of our lungs
It is.
and the tireless work of our respiratory muscles.
It's a system we often take for granted
I know, it's true.
until something goes wrong.
Right.
And as we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
there are a number of things that can threaten the health
Mm-hmm.
of our respiratory system,
Yeah.
from infections
Yeah.
to environmental factors.
Speaking of threats,
Mm-hmm.
the textbook was pretty clear about the dangers of smoking.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much damage
Yeah.
those inhaled chemicals
Right.
can inflict on our delicate lung tissues.
It's not just smoking either.
Oh, really?
Exposure to air pollution,
Okay.
both indoors and outdoors,
Yeah.
can also significantly impact our respiratory health.
Like what?
Things like dust,
Okay.
mold,
Yeah.
pollen,
Right.
and even certain cleaning products
Wow.
can irritate our airways
Yeah.
and contribute to respiratory problems.
So protecting our respiratory health
Right.
isn't just about avoiding cigarettes.
No.
It's about being mindful
Yeah.
of the air we breathe
Mm-hmm.
in all aspects of our lives.
Precisely.
Things like wearing masks in polluted areas,
Yeah.
using air purifiers in our homes,
Okay.
and advocating for cleaner air policies
Right.
can make a real difference in reducing our exposure.
To those harmful pollutants.
Exactly.
It's about taking an active role in safeguarding the health
Right.
of our respiratory system,
Mhm.
rather than passively breathing
Right.
whatever air comes our way.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
shifting gears a bit, there's an
Yeah.
interesting connection
Okay.
between breathing and our senses
Yeah.
that often gets overlooked.
You wouldn't think those two are related, would you?
I wouldn't have, no.
We often think of our senses
Mm,
as separate systems,
right.
but they're actually interconnected
Mm.
in fascinating ways.
Give me an example.
Take smell, for example.
Smell, okay.
The textbook mentioned olfactory cells in the nasal cavity,
Right.
which are responsible for our sense of smell.
Right. So we need to be able to smell things to make sure they're safe to eat.
It's exactly. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Smelling involves drawing air into our nasal cavity, which is part of the respiratory system.
Exactly.
But it goes beyond just safety.
Right.
Our sense of smell also plays a huge role in our enjoyment of food.
Exactly.
Think about how much flavor seems to disappear when you have a stuffy nose.
That's so true.
It is.
Food tastes so bland when I can't breathe through my nose.
Yeah, it does.
It's because the aromas that contribute to flavor can't reach your olfactory receptors when your nasal passages are blocked. So breathing freely is essential, not just for survival, but also for our ability to fully appreciate the world through our senses.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I never realized how much our sense of taste relies on our ability to breathe freely.
It's like our senses are all working together.
Yeah.
And breathing's the unsung hero that makes it all possible.
And that interconnectedness extends beyond our own bodies.
Right.
Remember those alveoli, tiny air sacs responsible for gas exchange?
Right.
Well, the oxygen we absorb into our blood through those alveoli is produced by plants through photosynthesis.
Exactly.
So every breath we take connects us to the plant world.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is.
Plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen.
Right.
Well, we breathe in oxygen and release carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
This exchange of gases is essential for life on Earth.
It's incredible to think about.
I know, it's amazing.
How interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
Our every breath links us to the air, to the plants, to the entire planet.
And that underscores the importance of protecting not just our own respiratory health, but also the health of the environment that sustains us.
Yeah.
Clean air, healthy forests, and a balanced ecosystem are all essential for the well-being of our respiratory system.
Right.
And, by extension, all life on Earth.
It's like we're all breathing together, sharing this precious resource that connects us all.
Exactly.
Oh.
As we continue our deep dive, let's keep this interconnectedness in mind.
Right.
We've explored the mechanics, the vulnerabilities, the adaptations. And now, the incredible interconnectedness of our respiratory system.
It's been an enlightening journey.
It has.
And on that note,
Yeah.
let's take another breath
Okay.
and prepare for part 3.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, deep divers.
It's been quite a journey.
As we wrap up our exploration of the human respiratory system, it's incredible to think about everything we've uncovered.
I know, right?
From the journey of air through those intricate passageways to the vital gas exchange happening in millions of tiny alveoli.
It's amazing.
It's a system that's both remarkably complex and surprisingly delicate.
We've seen how our lungs are designed for efficiency
Yeah.
with a surface area
Yeah.
as large as a tennis court,
It's incredible.
dedicated to pulling oxygen into our bloodstream.
We've explored the role of muscles, like the diaphragm and intercostal muscles.
Working tirelessly to expand and contract our chest cavity with every breath.
And we've delved into how our brain acts as a master conductor, constantly monitoring oxygen and carbon dioxide levels to keep everything in balance.
It's a remarkable system.
And it's not just about the mechanics of breathing.
Right.
We've also touched on how our respiratory system connects us to the world around us.
So everything.
From the way our sense of taste relies on our ability to breathe freely,
That's right.
to the vital exchange of gases with plants that sustains life on Earth.
It really highlights our interconnectedness with the environment and all living things.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not isolated beings.
Definitely not.
But part of a vast and intricate web of life.
And that every breath we take is a gift, a connection to something larger than ourselves.
You know, for something we do so effortlessly, thousands of times each day, breathing is pretty profound when you stop to think about it.
It really is.
And beyond its role in keeping us alive, breathing can also be a powerful tool for managing our mental and emotional well-being.
Exactly.
Have you ever noticed how taking a few deep, slow breaths can help calm you down when you're feeling stressed or anxious?
All the time.
I instinctively take a deep breath, and it does seem to help.
Yeah.
Is there a scientific reason for that?
There is.
Okay, what is it? Conscious breathing techniques can activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our body's relaxation response. It's like hitting the chill out button for your nervous system.
So by changing our breathing pattern,
we can actually shift our physiological and emotional state.
Exactly.
Wow.
Practices like meditation and yoga often incorporate deep breathing exercises to promote relaxation, reduce stress, and enhance focus.
It's something we can all do.
Exactly.
Anytime, anywhere.
That's the best part.
That's pretty empowering.
It is.
It's like we have this built-in tool for regulating our emotions. And finding a sense of calm amidst the chaos.
Absolutely.
So as we take our final breaths in this deep dive into the human respiratory system, I think the takeaway is clear.
What's that?
Let's not take breathing for granted. Let's appreciate its power, not just for sustaining life, but also for enhancing our mental and emotional well-being.
Essential.
And let's make choices that support the health of our respiratory system and the environment that provides the very air we breathe.
I couldn't agree more.
It's so important.
Each breath is a gift, a reminder of our aliveness, and an invitation to connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us.
Well said.
Keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning. And keep breathing deeply.
This has been an awesome deep dive.
It has. I've learned a lot.
Me too.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, deep divers.